Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Hello, everybody. A little bit of a technical glitch there. More server problems here tonight. Do apologize for that, but we're working on everything to try and get everything rocking and rolling here. We have a lot to share with you tonight. We have information on the suspect charged in connection with the Israeli embassy double murder. We have exclusive. Well, not really exclusive, but we have boots on the ground out in Calgary tonight with John Rimby, who's going to join us shortly to talk about a very unusual accident involving a pedestrian at a Wendy's drive-thru. So he'll bring us some information on that tonight. And Donald Trump still being, I guess, challenged on his claims of white genocide in South Africa. So that whole controversy continues. And we have a lot of other stuff to share with you tonight as well. So stay with me. I will continue to try to fix the problems with this server as we dig into today's top news stories. Don't go away.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are Maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, first up tonight, we're going to dig into this story about the shooting at involving these two Israeli embassy staffers who were apparently engaged to be married. What a tragic story. Happened about 9 o'clock last night. The suspect charged with the murder has been identified now. I have a picture of him. Let me just bring this up on the screen for you tonight. Elias Rodriguez is the name. Here's a photo of the man. So he is charged, suspected of being the lone suspect in this attack that killed two young Israeli embassy staff members outside an event at the Jewish Museum in downtown Washington, D.C., charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. Jeanine Pirro, the interim U.S. attorney for Washington, said today that authorities are also investigating this as a hate crime and a crime of terrorism. These killings left the U.S. Capitol in shock. The world, really. Very volatile situation. Federal agents in tactical gear raided the Chicago apartment that is believed to belong to the alleged gunman's home, and he was taken into custody. We have video of that as well, where he shouts, "Free Palestine." Let me find that video for you here. Before we get to that, actually, I'll show you the clip with Ilhan Omar from Fox News highlighting this. And they're being critical of her, saying that they just didn't like the response to the question. You can judge for yourself in this. And I don't have the full exchange. This might be the full exchange. Very brief clip. Here we go.
Congresswoman Omar, can I get your reaction to the shooting that happened in D.C. last night?
I'm going to go for now.
I'm going to go for now, Mark. Couldn't even say condolences for the family.
Congresswoman.
Yeah, so I think you understand the way this story is being, it's highlighting a lot of division in the country, obviously. So everything is sluggish because of the server issue here tonight. So I'm just having I'm just struggling a little bit to get things to pop up on the screen in a snappy manner. But here's the video of the suspect, Mr. Rodriguez, being taken into custody. There we go.
Outside! No. Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Outside! No. Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free.
Now, interestingly, this incident, it very unusual, and what happened with that suspect is also unusual because there are reports that the suspect was mistaken for a witness by security at this event. And I guess the security there let the person in thinking they were a bystander or witness. They were looking very distraught and was given a drink of water. And we have this from BBC. They talked to a couple of witnesses at the scene who saw the shooter inside the Jewish Museum. I'll bring you that here. Again, this credited to BBC. And bring it up on the screen. Here we go.
Around 9:07, we heard gunshots, and then a guy came in looking really distressed, and we thought that he just needed help.
He thought he was experiencing violence or something
and
outside.
He just needed safe shelter, so he comes in, and
so people were calming him down, bringing him water, taking care of him. Little did we know he was somebody that executed people in cold blood. He was the shooter.
Yeah.
Once the police originally showed up, he's like, I did this, I'm unarmed. He pulls out a red keffiyeh and he's like, I did this for Gaza, free Palestine. There's only one solution, Intifada revolution. And he just kept yelling, free Palestine.
Wow. Now this has sent shockwaves out, all over the world, really. And it was addressed today in the press conference with Trump's press secretary, Caroline Leavitt. Let me bring this up. This is exactly what was, this was the subject addressed right off the top of today's media gathering inside the press room. This is the way it went down.
President Trump is saddened and outraged over the brutal murder of 2 Israeli embassy staff here in Washington, D.C. last night. Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram were a beautiful young couple. In fact, we learned that Yaron was planning to propose to Sarah next week in Jerusalem. Yaron's father, Daniel, spoke about the young couple's devotion for one another this morning. He said, "They were in love, one for the other. The embassy told us they were like a star couple at the embassy. I never expected something like this. He had his whole life before him." These words, especially every parent knows, are heart-wrenching. The evil of anti-Semitism must be eradicated from our society. I spoke to the Attorney General this morning. The Department of Justice will be prosecuting the perpetrator responsible for this to the fullest extent of the law. Hatred has no place in the United States of America under President Donald Trump. Everyone here at the White House is praying for the victims' friends and families during this unimaginable time. Now for some scheduling announcements. On Saturday morning, President Trump will deliver the commencement address at the United States.
So we'll leave that there. There are reports too tonight that Rodriguez had been posting pro-Hamas material on social media prior to this. There are reports that he had said things like "death to America." 30 years old. And again, very tragic. Now let's just pivot here a little bit. Get you the information on the victims here. 2 Israeli embassy staffers. And just a little bit of, sorry. I just want to show you their pictures because these are the people that really need to be remembered. More so than the perpetrator or the person accused. And there they are. So yeah, he's facing, Rodriguez facing charges of murder. Additional charges are likely, according to prosecutors. And then these 2 engaged to be married. All right, going to take a quick break. Going to get some stuff reconfigured here, and I'll be right back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, and again. I just want to highlight this for you. Okay, here's the video. So yeah, these were the two who were murdered. Yaron Lashinsky, and he was preparing to propose to his girlfriend, Sarah Milgram. He had just bought an engagement ring, and they were planning on a trip to Jerusalem next week. And then this happened last night, around 9 p.m. All right. I fear there will be more fallout from that in the days ahead. Also, very unusual plane crash in San Diego. A video of this. Okay. So there's this music agency, Sound Talent Group, says that 3 of its employees, including the co-founder, Dave Shapiro, died in this private plane that crashed into a San Diego neighborhood. I understand it's a sort of a housing or community for military. We have video here. Come on, come up on the screen. There we go. So Shapiro is listed as the owner of the plane and has a pilot's license. Sound Talent Group represents artists including American pop band Hanson, American singer-songwriter Vanessa Carlton, and the Canadian rock group Sum 41. The San Diego authorities said that 2 people had died, total number of fatalities not exactly known, possibly 6 people in total. Crashed early today in a neighborhood of U.S. Navy-owned housing in San Diego during foggy weather. It ignited, as you see here, a home on fire, a number of vehicles, plane clipped power lines before slamming into the house. Several people injured trying to flee after the crash. Happened about around 4 a.m. in Murphy Canyon, largest neighborhood of Navy-owned housing in the country. Some other people that are treated for smoke inhalation. Now, there are also reports that Daniel Williams, the former drummer of the hugely popular Christian metalcore band The Devil Wears Prada, may have also died in the private jet crash. And we have photos that he posted online prior to this incident. Where he actually posted talking about flying on the plane. Yeah, so we're going to take another very short break. I'm going to set up the phones here because John Rimby from out in Alberta is going to join us to share information on this unusual accident at a Calgary drive-through involving a pedestrian. We'll get updated on that. I know that the pedestrian, at last word, and we'll update this for you in a moment, When I last checked, just coming to air, the word was that this person had suffered serious, possibly life-threatening injuries, and we'll find out exactly what the status of that is when we come back on the other side.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
All right, so we have this strange accident out in Calgary, Alberta. John was on scene this afternoon as this story unfolded. We're going to bring him up on the air with us here now. And just one moment as we get John on with us. Hello, John. How are you tonight?
Well, good evening, Maverick News family. Rimby John, boots on the ground in Calgary at the moment. How are you guys tonight?
Well, I think everybody here is basically okay. But a very tragic story I see out of Calgary tonight. I'm just going to see if I can get the latest from police here, John. Let me just see what we've got coming in from them.
I believe the person is deceased, unfortunately. I believe it's a lady. Unfortunately, with a heavy heart, I think deceased.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So we've confirmed now that, yes, the pedestrian has passed away. Woman died after being hit by a vehicle at this Northwest Calgary drive-through. And you were there, I guess, moments after this happened. Can you just describe the scene for us, John? And I'll bring up some of these images that you captured from the scene this afternoon.
Yeah, well, just to back up, guys, I mean, this is the Wendy's restaurant that has been in Northwest Calgary for a long time, next door to Co-op grocery store. Local people would know that, and Gas Bar. It's been there since mid-62. I was there having coffee by myself on conference calls, sitting on this side of the drive-thru at the very end when the vehicles come out. And quite quietly, an ambulance came in with firefighters. The ambulance came in over on the Wendy's side, and the firefighters came in on the Gas Bar Co-op side. And then you got to appreciate, this is around noon now, 11:30. There's all these university kids come in, and I was on the phone, and they started floating out and looking around the corner. And I finally kind of got curious and went out. And this person was laying in the center of the Wendy's drive-thru, like at the first takeout window. And the firemen and paramedics were working on this person, to giving them, life-threatening support. At that point in time, Rick, nobody there had any idea. I think this was maybe a vehicle accident. There was an assumption, might have been a drug overdose. There, unfortunately, the LRT, light rail transit's right across the street. There's a lot of homeless people float through there, and a lot of ODing on drugs in the area. It's a very, very middle class upper area now. And I can just tell you, shocking. I do, Rick, have to give not only the Calgary City Police, the Calgary paramedics and fire department, those guys worked on this lady, Rick, for like, I was there, probably over an hour and a half.
So I see, John,
I
in
mean,
this one image that you have here, right at the drive-through, they have sort of a barrier set up with orange tarp around it. Is that
yeah,
where the body was, where they set up a?
yeah.
Okay, so they're
But
just
that was hours later when I was first there and this happened.
yeah.
Like that, if you backed up one photo right in front of that police car is where I was sitting on the side there having my coffee.
Right.
They set up that barrier later on, but I can tell you that the people that I talked to at the scene, and I kind of phoned you right away, a very, very bizarre scene, Rick. People didn't know whether this lady was homeless, a heart attack, no idea about anything.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's no point in really speculating because we don't have, facts. We just have to wait for more information from the authorities on this. But I guess this does highlight why these restaurants have strict rules. You're not allowed to walk up to a drive-through window, for instance, and this is really one of the obvious reasons why it's not safe. You have cars driving through there, and I've seen people try to walk up to these windows to actually order food, and of course you're refused because, and I'm not saying that's what happened here. I'm just saying that they do have rules, and drive-throughs are actually a fairly dangerous place. It's just a constant flow of traffic.
Well, I think, there's a lot of unanswered questions. I can tell you when I was there on the scene and I left the scene and came back, and it just got a little more bizarre and almost turned into like a homicide sort of investigation.
Well, yeah,
with,
I mean, I don't want to go that far. This,
no, but I'm just saying with accident people out the corner. But I can tell you that there were different people that spoke with firefighters, ambulance people, police.
Yeah.
Very devastating.
Well, they'll always have their accident reconstruction people there because there could be, always the possibility of charges laid. They have to figure out exactly what happened, interview witnesses. What did you see in terms of, witnesses and media showing up and that sort of thing?
Well, the one picture you've got there right now, that actually was a friend of yours from CTV that I've bumped into before.
I honestly, John, I don't know who that gentleman is. He maybe
I don't
knows
either.
me. I don't
didn't
know
even
who
get
that
his
is.
name, but there were just a really, really bizarre scene. And this is people, you don't just see this happen in Alberta. This is just a very bizarre one-off. There appears to be a vehicle involved with the deceased lady. There were other photos I sent you where there's police taking photos of the front and the side of the vehicle, but yet everything, I got to really tip my hat to the Wendy's staff. Incredibly professional all day. The whole area, was taped off as basically an accident crime scene. Mm-hmm. And furthermore, the people over at the Co-op grocery store gas bar, extremely professional, very distraught about this. And I would like, to throw out on behalf of kind of our Maverick News family, our sincerest condolences and prayers for the victim in this terrible accident today, and condolences to their families. Just a real sad. I talked to some of even these most hardened police officers at sea that were having a pretty tough day today, Rick, with our fire people and our ambulance people. Just beyond incredible.
Okay. Well, I think we've given it as much coverage as we can tonight. I think we've shared the information we're aware of, shared the facts, and if there is more information that we need to convey in the next day or two, we will share that with you as police release more information. We don't have the name of the victim at this point. We don't have an age. We still don't know exactly what the situation is, what led to this accident, other than, of course, obviously a vehicle struck a woman who was treated at the scene but passed away at the scene. We know that the authorities are saying that is the case tonight, confirmed that this female victim, a pedestrian, was struck and killed at this Wendy's drive-through in what I would say is just a very unusual accident, because I'm as dangerous as these places are, these drive-throughs, they have rules. They have, they have controls there. But obviously, if you're walking around in the parking lot, folks, be very, very careful when you're in any of these restaurants. I've been in around these places myself, where you're walking across a parking lot and there are cars coming through the drive-through, and sometimes just the way the doors are situated in the building and the way the cars, you're parked around the building, and sometimes I find that you do end up crossing over, maybe with a little bit too much confidence. These flows of traffic in the active lanes of these drive-throughs. I've been there, and keep your head up and just be careful out there.
Well, and Rick, a final thought, most of these drive-through lanes, like the concrete, the curb is about a foot plus deep. So there's a lot of unanswered questions. There is, as I understand, an ongoing, investigation. But I'm a Calgary-born guy out of Rimby, Alberta, but I do have to tip my hat that what I observed, the Calgary City Police were absolutely incredible. The traffic unit, the Calgary firemen and paramedic. I mean, they worked on this person for over an hour and a half. I mean, and that it's exemplary, the job that these people do. And we forget about that, Rick, All
right. Well, John, thank you very much for bringing us this tonight. And folks, we will be back right after this.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Okay, so moving on to other news tonight. Getting a little sluggish on the server here this evening, but I can tell you that Donald Trump still being, held to account for his comments yesterday involving his South Africa genocide claims. Seeing that, and I Caroline Leavitt can defend it all she wants, but he definitely did take the video showing all the crosses along the road. He did take it out of context. It highlights for me something very concerning. I'll comment on it a little bit here tonight. Social media is, shaping people's perceptions, shaping people's actual reality. The President of the United States, it's clear, his view of the world is being shaped by social media. Because this is not the first time he has taken something out of context. He said yesterday in his exchange with the leader of South Africa that these crosses all along the road were grave sites. It's clear he believed that people were buried there, but it wasn't. It was a protest, and the crosses were lining. And I said yesterday, that's not accurate. Those crosses in that video were set up to represent farmers who had been killed. And there were about 1,000 of them. I don't know if that number is accurate. They could set up any number they wanted to as part of that protest. I don't know if that was like for every real person, or if it was just a representation, if the number of those crosses is an actual representation of the total number. I don't know. I just know that this thing is blowing up again. And it isn't the only thing that Donald Trump didn't quite get right yesterday as part of this news conference, where he really is seen as ambushing the leader of South Africa, where, of course, back in the 90s, we had apartheid come to an end. And now we have seen ongoing reports of white farmers, allegations of white farmers, and I know actual documented cases of white farmers being killed in violent attacks. But statistically, they're saying that most people who are killed in violent acts, murder, involve Black people. I'm just going to let this roll. This is a political hot potato, and Trump really set it on fire yesterday.
Well, this really was a stunning scene in the Oval Office in a confrontation produced for the cameras. President Trump lecturing the South African president and spreading those unproven claims of genocide. This morning, fallout from that Oval Office ambush. President Trump amplifying false claims that South Africa is engaged in genocide against white farmers. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa came to the White House hoping for a fresh start.
We want to advance more trade between the two of us.
But President Trump had other plans.
They say there's a lot of bad things going on in Africa, and that's what we're going to be discussing today.
Trump determined to highlight those false claims that white South African farmers are being racially persecuted, claims that have also been pushed by Elon Musk, a native of South Africa. Despite banning nearly all refugees coming to the U.S., the Trump administration now making an exception for white South Africans, a plane load arriving in the U.S. just last week. The administration still cutting all aid to South Africa.
We have had a tremendous number of people, especially since they've seen this. Generally, they're white farmers, and they're fleeing South Africa.
Asked what it would take to convince him there is no genocide, President Ramaphosa jumping in.
It will take President Trump listening to the voices of South Africans, some of whom are his good friends.
But Trump digging in with the cameras rolling, dimming the lights.
You turn the lights down.
Showing what he claims is evidence, including video of an extremist South African politician calling for violence against white farmers. Trump also holding up a stack of articles he says proves it's happening. But Ramaphosa adamant the views in the video do not represent his government.
Our government policy is completely against what he was saying.
Major political parties in South Africa and a South African judge agree, denying the existence of a white genocide in their country. South Africa does have a crime problem, and statistics show farmers are being murdered. But there is no evidence it is racially motivated or amounts to genocide. White farmers make up only 7% of the country, but own the vast majority of its farmland. Ramaphosa saying most of the victims of crime are Black.
There is criminality in our country. People who do get killed, unfortunately through criminal activity, are not only white people. Majority of them are Black people.
Trying to ease the tension, South Africa's president then joking he wishes he could be like the nation of Qatar and gift Trump a luxury jet.
I'm sorry, I don't have a plane to give you.
I wish you did. I take it. I would take it.
Now, after the meeting, a spokesman for the South African president told us they expected to be confronted, saying, quote, "We knew that whenever heads of state come to the White House, you get a bit of a show."
President Trump's over.
Yeah, bit of a show. In the White House today, at the White House press conference, this was the subject. I believe this is the clip here with Caroline Leavitt. Media. The reason I ran the ABC piece is because that has been sort of the slant. Not sort of, it has been the slant that these allegations are not true, but online, it's a totally different perspective. And Caroline Leavitt defending Donald Trump today in the White House scrum.
Yamish, good to see you.
Hi, good. Thanks for taking my question.
Sure.
The president showed a video that he said showed more than 1,000 burial sites of white South Africans that he said were murdered. We know that that was not true and that the video wasn't showing that. So I wonder, why did the president choose to show that?
What's not true, Yamiche?
It's not true that the video was showing a burial site. It is unsubstantiated that that's the case.
No, it is true that that video showed the crosses that represent
what the president claimed.
The video showed images of crosses in South Africa about white farmers who have been killed and politically persecuted because of the color of their skin. And those crosses are representing their lives. Those crosses are representing their lives in the fact that they are now dead and their government did nothing about it. Are you disputing that there's no...
The fact that the video showed what the president claimed it showed, because it did not show that. But even more, what I'm asking you is who at the White House...
No, it did show that. It showed white crosses representing people who have perished because of racial persecution.
Verifies the videos that the president shows, and what protocols are in place when there's unsubstantiated information being put out for the world and world leaders to
Yamiche,
show?
what's unsubstantiated about the video? The video shows crosses that represent the dead bodies of people who were racially persecuted by their government. In fact, the Associated Press, of all places, has a picture of that very monument, and the caption from the Associated Press is, "Each cross marks a white farmer who has been killed in a farm murder." So it is substantiated, not just by that video and the physical evidence that everybody saw on display in the Oval Office, but also by another outlet in this room, the Associated Press. So you should take it up with them if you believe the claim is unsubstantiated, and that's a ridiculous line of questioning.
I think both things are true. I think that clearly those crosses represented dead farmers. I don't know if the number of crosses accurately depicts the total number of incidents. I don't know. I do know this. The President of the United States and other people around him in the administration are definitely being influenced by what they're seeing on social media, to the point where it's actually, like all of us, it is creating a reality in their minds. This is very concerning, because if you have the leader of the United States who has access to the largest, most powerful military in the history of humankind, and his reality is shaped by what he's seeing online, it begs the question, is he being manipulated by powers, foreign or domestic? And it's clear he's influenced, because even J.D. Vance, if you go back and listen to what he said to Zelensky in that blow up in the Oval Office, Zelensky said, "Please come to Ukraine and we will show you," when Vance was attacking Zelensky. And J.D. Vance responded by talking about the videos he sees online. And that's how he has come to the conclusions and developed his worldview that then shapes his support or lack of support for various policies with regard to foreign matters, including Ukraine. So you've got the Vice President of the United States involved in an exchange with Zelensky, an attack on Zelensky in the White House, and his whole worldview, his whole view of this war has really been shaped by social media. And he's sitting there telling Zelensky that he's wrong. And Zelensky lives there. He's the president of Ukraine. Now, you could say that Zelensky, you can have a view on this, who's lying or who's inaccurate. But how can J.D. Vance sit there and tell Zelensky that he's just wrong and he's never been to see? And these guys are controlling foreign policy, budgets, weapons shipments to a war in a country that I guess J.D. Vance has never even visited. And he's sitting there. That struck me as very dangerous when I was listening to that exchange at that time. And now, and Trump has before made references to videos and images online. In fact, just recently, there was another incident where Trump, doubling down and trying to defend himself on the criticisms surrounding the deportations of people that he are accused of being illegal migrants or immigrants to El Salvador. And there was the one person in particular who was scooped up and had legal status to stay in the country, but was scooped up and shipped out anyway. And there was a media furor around that for about 2 weeks. And the justification that Trump came up with in an interview was a photograph. And if you showed the knuckles, it said MS-13 on the knuckles, but there were tattoos here. Maybe I can find this for you. It just thought about it. But it wasn't. And so Trump is like, he was, yeah, Abreu Garcia. And let me see if I can, here it is here. Now, I don't know. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, this right here. It's ridiculous. Maybe it's his age. I mean, let's face it, people in their 80s, not the most proficient when it comes to things digital and computerized, right? So maybe he didn't understand. But look, this is what Trump was messed up about in this he was interviewed about it, and he believes from this photo right here, he posts this, and then he was asked about it, and I don't know if I've got the clip about this. You see that it says MS-13, and then these are tattoos. So the allegation is that these tattoos somehow are supposed to represent or translate into MS-13. I don't know if that's even possible. Looks like a marijuana leaf and a smile face and a cross and a skull. Interpreted as MS-13. I don't know. Do those symbols add up to that? I wouldn't know. But the MS-13, Trump is looking at that. And in this interview, he said, you see it right there, that says MS-13. He believed that the photoshopped image with the text on top, that those were part of the tattoo. It was a twisted thing. Maybe I can find the clip. It just blew my mind that Trump would be so easily led astray. Just crazy. Here we go here. It was actually funny at the time to listen to it. I think, yeah, it's right here. I think this is the clip. Yeah. Let me, oh. So again, his whole reality is being distorted by social media and a picture that he didn't really understand, because I don't think he understood that this thing had the text, the MS-13 text photoshopped on top of the knuckles, trying to tell us that these other symbols added up to that. Listen to the interview.
He wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute over that.
Wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
Oh, he had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshopped. So let me
That was Photoshopped. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because...
he's like, literally, he thinks that the text MS-13 was tattooed on his knuckles. It's Photoshop. You understand? Trump didn't understand. And then he's like, listen to this. Just listen to it again. He thinks that the text on top was real. Come on, computer, play. Give it a moment. It'll catch up. Let me recycle it while I get this server to respond. Here we go. Bring it back up, and I'll let it roll.
There's a dispute.
Well, wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
Oh, he had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshopped. So let me
That was Photoshopped. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. But I picked you, Terry. But you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
Right. We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture. We'll
and you think it was Photoshop? Well,
here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine, sir.
Terry,
I want to get to Ukraine.
No. He had MS as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because
when
it's
he was
fake
photographed
news.
in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go on. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They weren't
Take a look at the
but
photographs.
they're there now, right?
No,
but
they're in
now.
your picture.
Terry.
Ukraine, sir.
He's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
All right.
Okay?
Well, we'll take a look at that.
You do such a disservice.
We'll take a look at that,
Why don't
sir.
you just say, yes, he does, and, go on to something else?
It's contested.
I just... We're in so much trouble. I mean, like, we are in so much trouble. The President of the United States can't tell the difference between reality and Photoshop when it's obviously... See, he's referring to the actual text, the MS-13. He thinks that's the tattoo. And even when he's being told, sir, it's Photoshop, he's like, no, it's not. He's just... If this wasn't so dangerous, it would be funny. But he seriously doesn't get it. God help us all.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Yeah, that's why, honestly, I have really doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down on trying to get back to the fundamentals of journalism here. Integrity, attribution, telling the truth, getting away from this this new media that it's just too loose. It's being used to shape people's minds, to influence people. And journalism has died as a result. What you saw there with Trump, that's the result. It's affecting everyone. And certain people in positions of power, foreign leaders for other countries, political action groups, activists, big companies, they're using the platform to screw with people's minds. They're screwing with the mind of the president of the United States. Even, inadvertently. It's distorting people's reality, right? The technology. Sometimes maybe, unintentionally. So because he doesn't have the media literacy, social media literacy, digital media literacy, to cope. And this is a guy who's in the middle of what's really, truly a third world war, a hybrid war, an information war. He's not equipped to deal with this. Very few politicians are, because the majority of politicians are older and they don't get it. And out there in the world, in our society, the average reading level is about grade 6. Because of our education system, just because of socioeconomic conditions. It has been that way for a long time. That's just the reality. And yet people are being subjected to this massive flood, tidal wave, tsunami of new age digital information, much of it designed to really shape your reality. And I have seen this descent into digital darkness, especially since the pandemic, because all of this turmoil, especially since the pandemic, has been exploited by a lot of different groups, a lot of different interests, and not for the better. The result, too, is that because real journalism is dying, if it's not already dead, and I think it's probably just about dead. And there's so much distrust that has been sown as a result of all of this. And a lot of that distrust is the result of bad actors, social media influencers, who have been engaged in an ongoing campaign to sow distrust, not just in our media, but in our institutions, in our government, in all the things that keep our society stitched together. Just an ongoing, relentless onslaught and attack against our society to tear it all down. Make no mistake. And some people just engaging in it night after night after night, day after day, 24/7, 365, a constant assault on our society by trying to bring discredit to our institutions, things that actually are out there to keep us safe, to keep our society stable. I don't know how much any society can ultimately take. And I'm getting it on a daily basis because of the stupid ostrich story. Yeah. I mean, we've talked a bit about that here. And I'm not trying to make this about me, but all I've done with that regard to that story is just present factual information, provide context through some editorializing, provide actual attribution, quotes, interviews, talk to people on all sides. And I'm under attack. I'm getting pressure from people who want me to lie. Advice from somebody today saying, if you want your channel to be successful, you need to tell people what they want to hear. And I keep telling, I'm not going to lie. Well, you know, so-and-so has a much bigger channel than you do. If you want a big audience, you got to do what that guy does. Well, other people are free to do what they want, but I am not going to lie. And so I'm under pressure, under attack, because it's a political thing out there. It's not just about the birds. And I think anybody with half a brain can see that. It's an anti-government protest. It's connected to a lot of other political things too. And it's about money. Not just for the farmers. There's just political groups involved now. That's what the standoff is likely to happen. And they're talking about that out there, and you're getting a lot of doublespeak. It's very Orwellian. And it's also all the media surrounding it, you know. It's and I'm talking mainstream and independent media. It's all emotion based. It's not about facts. It's all designed to get everybody upset about the ostriches. And I don't want to draw much more attention to it because honestly, the reality is it's not as big as people think. It's that whole thing is about shaping your perspective, your perceptions. It's perception management on a large scale with a very small event. It's one farm. By the standards of the ostrich industry, it's big. It's, if not the biggest ostrich farm in Canada, it's one of the biggest. It was at one time the largest. I think it still is, just in terms of the number of birds, because it's a niche business to begin with. But what you're getting out there is it's a show. It's not, it's kind of an issue, but it's a manufactured issue. And it's a convenient issue for the political groups that are involved in going out there, and they're exploiting it. They're leveraging it. They're managing the media. And me bringing out actual true facts, which I had no idea where the story was going to go. I had no agenda going into it. I was trying to avoid the story, but people kept bringing it to me because they thought I would just go along with the narrative. So they kept feeding it to me. You got to talk about this one. You got to talk about this one. I don't want to talk about that. No, you got to talk about this. So people talking about it in the call-in show. And because it's a managed, choreographed media event, a show, a circus, people started to talk about it. It takes on a life of its own. They're the ones with the agenda, not me. I'm like, I don't know how to do that. Because I'm not part of it. I'm just not part of the machine. And I'm not getting paid. And I'm not getting donations to do it. Quite the contrary. See, if you go along, somehow money kind of flows into your donation bin. Next thing you know, you have enough in the kitty to, buy somebody a car. Have at it. I'm not interested in participating in that. This is why the president of the United States can't wrap his head around real things. Another image tonight that has come to light from that Trump exchange with the president of South Africa yesterday, there was another still shot, an image. I think I have it. Again, another inaccuracy. Another inaccuracy. He said that this was an image of white farmers after having been killed. Let me see if I've got it here. There it is right there. Okay. I do have it. And it was completely wrong. I'll show it to you. Again, because the checks and balances on journalism have kind of gone out the window. So he was exposed to this image. Somehow, I guess it was misrepresented. misused. Maybe it's it's a shot from Reuters video footage, Reuters news service. Let me bring it up. I need to get it full screen for you. Here we go. Okay. So he said this image was from South Africa, but in reality, this is a still shot from a video, Reuters news service from Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, from February 3rd, 2025. It's not related. This was from, these are the remains of victims killed in clashes between M23 rebels and the armed forces of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Totally different thing. And yet Trump yesterday thought that was white farmers, bodies of white farmers. Held it up as one of those images in the news articles that he was rifling through. So again, his perception being distorted. So is that his fault? Everybody's being subjected to it. It's very, very difficult. It takes a high level of media literacy to sift through that. I know I've been the victim of it, and I've worked in media all my life. I went to school for this stuff, and it's difficult for me to know or understand sometimes if what I'm looking at is real, not real, especially on Twitter. That has become a cesspool of fake stuff, recycled footage, repurposed video from years ago where you're being told it's something that it isn't. Artificial intelligence being used to generate images and video that people think is real. It was really pronounced after the October 7th attack, I noticed, where a lot of like fake AI stuff was out there. And because it was just at a point where AI was emerging, it was very difficult, even for myself, to determine if what I was seeing was real or not. But there were little clues that you could pick up because you're just not accustomed to it yet, right? So it's brand new. And so there'd be too many fingers on a hand, or there'd be a distortion in an arm of someone, and you can kind of pick it out. And I think even now, just even months later, as people have been exposed to more and more and more of it, people are becoming more media savvy. And so you're just beginning to recognize what's real and what isn't, just because you're becoming more socially media literate. And when I say you, I mean all of us collectively. But as the technology continues to improve, it's very difficult to decipher what's real and what isn't. You go back to the very first moving pictures, film. I believe like one of the very first films ever to come out, I believe it was Thomas Edison. And they were showing this movie to an audience of a train. And in the shot, the train was coming straight at the screen. Well, this was all new. And so people in the audience actually believed that the train was going to come out of the screen and run them over. Because motion pictures were brand new. Of course, today it's nothing, right? I was watching Battlestar Galactica, the classic series from like 1979, 1980. I was watching it with my wife last weekend, some old episodes. And, today those special effects done by John Dykstra, Industrial Light and Magic, the same guy who did the special effects for Star Wars, which were groundbreaking at the time. When I look at those today, they still look okay, but they're kind of cheesy. They're models against a green screen, and green screen technology at the time was cutting edge. And War of the Worlds, when that was first broadcast on radio, people believed that the Earth was really being invaded by Martians. We're at that point right now with AI, social media, and we're in a very dangerous place because not only are people being subjected to information coming at us through this new technology, unlike in the past, where it's scale was still somewhat limited, right? Now, it's with social media and the algorithms, Elon Musk can reach out into your brain even without jacking you into the matrix physically through some wired in port. He doesn't even need the Bluetooth. He's feeding you through his algorithms every single day the kinds of videos and the messaging that he wants you to see. And he's doing it around much of the world. He's manipulating public opinion in other countries, influencing elections, the outcomes of elections. And then you're worried about a ballot box video where you think that somebody's taking ballots home. That's not where these things are being rigged, folks. It's not at the ballot box. No. It's right here in our minds. There's a war on for our minds. And somebody has control of Donald Trump's mind. Think about it.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So, President of South Africa has arrived in where is it happening? I believe it is. Yeah, it is actually, I should say, President Xi of China has arrived in South Africa, where he has now been welcomed by the president of South Africa, Ramaphosa, for the 15th annual. Hang on a second here. Yeah, this is old. See, here I am. Case in point, I just got manipulated by social media because this is in my news feed. And then I'm looking at this post about Xi Jinping, and it's like, I'm just reading it. It was just cold, right? Just a cold read. And I'm like, wait a minute. This isn't right. This isn't today. This is not today. This is like from 2 years ago. Okay, man, whatever. See, I just almost got taken. That's why you have to be so careful. And this was coming straight in off X. Yeah. Let that be a lesson to me. Again. So, careful out there, folks. We're all being messed with. And I do take it seriously. I do try to make sure that I bring you guys factual stuff, not jump to conclusions, not get duped. I can't say I'm always getting it right, but if I make a mistake, I will acknowledge it because it's easy to get fooled. And so in that regard, I'm not even that critical of Trump, especially at his age. It's just so easy to get fooled. And that being said, that gets us to the bottom of the hour. You know what? I'll take some phone calls tonight. That's what we'll do. I will open the phones. John joined us there just a short time ago, but we'll open the phones and just for a short time. I don't want to spend too much more time on this tonight, but I will give you guys a chance to weigh in because we really haven't had too much of a call in over the last number of days. So let me get the phone number up on the screen for you and I'll get things set up. And here we go. This is the number to call to join the conversation. Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Exercise your right to free speech. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. All right, and big thank you to everybody. You continue to support the channel. Really appreciate that. Can't make this work without you. And it's all up to you because we've been demonetized on YouTube, as you know, and Facebook and so on. So you make it work here. And that's all there is to it. Let's go to our first caller of the night. Who's on the line with us? All right, here's Dragon, all the way from Montreal. Hello, welcome back, sir.
Thank you.
So,
well, I got a few words, actually. Around 12 yesterday, I was having that information that part of D.C., Washington was on lockdown because of, something that happened. So I did tune in on that stream, and I've seen what was happening. And, that reminds me of what I've said when I was doing actually some of the pro-Palestinian protest report back last year. This will come to that end to some extent, or probably soon enough, we'll see something like that happen, and I hope not. But here we are.
So you're worried that we're going to see some violence or something like that here on the Canadian side?
Well, it's a risk, I think. It's a risk, but probably in the U.S. you'll see more of it. So, yeah, that could extend probably also into our little border. So, it's scary times.
Yeah, and, the other thing today, just a story of note, and actually it's a significant story, is the Trump administration, Donald Trump, has taken steps to prevent Harvard from enrolling foreign students. That's happened today. And they're saying that it's because they have allowed, that Harvard has allowed, what was the phrasing? Anti-Semitism, hatred on campuses. Let me see if I can find the info. Trump administration bars Harvard from enrolling foreign students. This is, breaking news today. And this comes from the Department of Homeland Security, saying Harvard has created an unsafe campus environment by allowing anti-American pro-terrorist agitators to assault Jewish students on campus. It also accuses Harvard of coordinating with, get this, and this is also part of the perception management and creating a reality for people, coordinating with the Chinese Communist Party, saying it hosted and trained members of the Chinese paramilitary group as recently as last year. Got another caller coming in. Let's see who we have on the line. Hello, who's there?
Pope Leo.
How are you tonight?
Good.
What's
I've
up?
been listening a little bit. Man, the stuff in Washington, it's a boiling point, right? It's not like we didn't know something was going to happen, and it's probably going to happen over here in Canada, unfortunately. Right?
Don't know.
I don't know what to make of it. It's sad. Okay, and my prayers go out to the two that were brutally murdered, right, in Washington, right? But we see what's going on in the world today. You got all kinds of conflict from Pakistan to India to Gaza to Israel, Russia, Ukraine, right? It was just a matter of time before it wound up on the doorsteps of North America, right? What you see at the protests.
Well, it's here regardless, Leo. You know, it's integrated into our society too, has been, you know. So people say that these wars aren't ours. They're ours whether we like it or not, because of the kind of society we have here.
That's right. It's the melting pot, right? So we're supposed to be all one and live in peace and harmony. But that wasn't.
Well, that's that's
not the case.
That's the American way of dealing with that. In Canada, our approach has been different, and we've tried to create something of a mosaic, as they say here. Down there, they're trying to create a melting pot. Anyway, two different approaches.
Yeah, and I've been listening to the ostrich farm stuff, and I don't know if I ever mentioned this before on your show, but 1980, I was 10 years old, and I lived in Amherstburg on 4th Street, and behind us we had a bush lot, right? And I don't know which university was doing it, but they had big nets set up, and they were catching birds in 1980, and they were taking blood tests and all kinds of stuff. I went over and I talked to the scientists that were doing it, right? I was just a little kid. And they said, oh, we checked the birds for diseases and everything else. So this is 1980, guys, right?
Yeah.
The bird flu and everything else. And if 69 birds died on that farm due to a virus, unfortunately, you got to call them. Right? You can't let that shit get out, because bird flu is a serious thing, right? People have died from it.
Yeah.
Right? And then when you find out behind the scenes, wow, it's a long story behind the scenes, right? 2020, that they were selling the birds for meat to luxury restaurants throughout the world, right? And doing all kinds of crazy things. And then what I found really ironic was, okay, now you got these guys, soon as the names popped up, Jim Kerr, Big Bear, the rest of them, I was like, this is a shit show like we're never going to see before. And then if you look deep into it, you'll find out that the birds are vaccinated. So the ones that were fighting against the vaccinations back in, when, okay, are all of a sudden fighting for the birds that are vaccinated.
Yeah, and just to get the terminology exact, they vaccinated isn't quite the right word. But you're not wrong. It's just that the people at the farm are trying to use very precise language.
Inoculated. I think the word was inoculated.
With this, and I will use the words that the scientist, as he calls himself, in Japan uses. It's genetically engineered pseudo virus antigen. That's what it is. Synthetic. And then they're telling us it's all natural. I don't know what's natural about injecting
MNRA
with synthetic, right? A synthetic antigen. But
all I know is, there's a lot of people out there that are bird experts. All of a sudden, everybody knows everything about the birds. I don't know shit about bird shit, period. Okay, and I could care. It's somebody's farm, but it's been going on, right? If let's say it was a chicken farm, and you've heard the stories where they come in 10,000 chickens, gone. See you later.
Yeah.
Right. The government pays them, okay, to carry on with business.
Yeah.
Okay, to get them restarted and everything else, right? But for me, when I first started listening to it a month and a half ago, that they named these animals as their pets, okay, and all of a sudden it sounded like a petting zoo.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So it played strings on a lot of people's hearts, okay, like the smallest violin out there, right? And I could see what was happening. And then when the names came in, Jim Kerr and Big Bear and the rest of it, this is going to be a shit show. If I ever had a protest, and I'm going to have a protest probably for a 420 festival again, I'd keep these guys as far away from it as possible. You're not welcome, right? nothing but grifting going on that I see, right? There's money, and
Have you seen?
And you stated it right. 13 million in government funding, Rick. I think you said it on your show.
That went to a company, not directly to the farm, to be accurate, right? And then there was some sort of a contract that hasn't been fulfilled. But yeah, I mean, there's after the pandemic, the reason a lot of people pivoted to research is because governments around the world freed up all kinds of money for research. So if you can tap into that, you're going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, and then they became really pet friendly. So now you got the PETA people out there, okay, the environmentalists, and you got the convoy people. What could happen? What's the best scenario that's going to happen there?
They're going to get their heads beaten in by the cops. I think when they show up, I think that's what's going to happen, and then they're all going to get arrested.
See some horse thieves.
What's that?
We're going to see the horse thieves.
I hope not. I mean, I don't want it. I don't want that to happen to people, but all I've done is I've shared the information. People can make their own decision. If you want to go out to the farm after hearing that information, have at it. It's up to you.
I wouldn't waste my gas.
Yeah.
Right. I'm staying away from a lot of things, and that's one of them I'll be staying away from. Right. But I do have my point of say in life, and what I see going on. Okay. I don't know. I spent a life around a lot of convicts and con artists and everything else. Okay, I could smell cons coming from a mile away, Rick, and I see a lot of shit going on there. That is just, it is what it is. I'm street smart. I could smell it.
Do you want to know how whacked this guy has become, Leo? A week ago, somebody told me you were going out there.
Yeah, somebody said you were going out there.
Somebody said I was going out. Oh,
yeah.
This is how. Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's so stupid.
I posted in the comment. I said, "Rick Walker out there yet?" Okay. And Queenie goes, "No, he ain't fucking out there." I said, "Well, I heard he was going. Right? I heard you were going to get the scoop." I should have picked you up. We could have went.
Well, it looked like a heck of a party on the weekend with at Ostrich Fest.
The thing I got from Kerr and the bad vibes I got from Big Bear and the rest of these guys out there, okay, is when he mentioned this is going to be like Ottawa 3.0. Wait a second, back that up, because 2.0 happened, okay, and I was watching your show where the guy got ran over. Remember, right? It was a big shit show. Mm-hmm. Some farmer gave up his property who was dying of cancer apparently, right, and let him squat on their property, so the cops couldn't raid them. When they left a natural disaster there for the guy. Nobody paid the guy anything, okay, and it was nothing but GoFundMe, free food, party hardy, right? Not my bag.
It was a free place for some people who lived for a while. They left the guy with a big electricity bill and a huge mess that the guy couldn't clean up himself because he wasn't physically well. He had cancer. So another fundraiser had to be held by other people within the freedom movement to pay for the cleanup that was left by these other
Ron
people.
Clark bailed. Right? They all bailed on him, right? And that's the day that I lost respect for all of them.
Yeah.
Right. Anybody that was involved in 2.0. Okay. Adios, amigos. Okay. And say what you want, right? I'll talk shit all day long.
Sorry, Dragon, what was that?
Yeah. It doesn't show much respect.
No.
It don't. It's zero respect. You got it, Dragon. Right. And when I mention it, I'm waiting for one of these clowns to pipe up and say, "Hey, you're a goof," or something like. You know what? Fuck you. When I see you, we'll drag it out, right? That's just me, right? But none of them are, right?
And you know what? Talking about respect, just you can have different views on all of these things, but at the end of the day, this is my opinion. All right, this is disrespectful to other farmers. It's disrespectful to their neighbors. Everything that's going on out there is disrespectful.
For sure.
It's disrespectful to us.
If I knew in 1980 at 10 years old, I didn't know that there was a bird flu. They didn't tell me there was a bird flu, but they were taking tests, okay, blood tests and samples from birds. There's sparrows, whatever they were catching in the nets. It doesn't matter. Ducks, okay, whatever, geese. Okay, they were taking blood samples and everything else. So something was going on in 1980 that they knew about, right? That birds could carry viruses. And like Rudy said the other night, I was just laughing at that one. How do the ducks get listen, the ducks fly from from Nunavut and the geese to where? South America.
Yeah.
Mexico.
3,000 kilometer range. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Right.
looked it up.
Right. Then you got the American bald eagle.
Yeah.
Where's that one soar to? All over the world.
Yeah. Somebody else joining us on the line. Who's there?
It's Alicia.
Well, hello, Alicia. How are you tonight?
I'm good. And I've been avoiding this story about the ostriches also. And if it was my farm and my ostriches, they've had what, 5 months dealing with this?
Yeah.
The first thing I would have done is went to my own vet and singled out 6 or 7 birds, had them tested with my own money to find out if they're got the bird flu. And if they didn't, then the farmers got some kind of leeway to fight. So why aren't they calling their own vet?
They're not allowed to, Alicia, and there are reasons for that. And people will say, well, that just shows that the government is corrupt and they won't let them test. But you see, the thing is, what the protest is largely about is trying to undermine the authority of government, period. And so they're trying to just cast the government in a negative light. And this is like government versus anti-government forces coming to a head. And if the government's already allowed this to linger and be delayed for 5 months, giving the farm owner actual due process and dragging it through the courts, when normally the CFIA would go in and call these birds like immediately because of the significance of the threat. But this is dragged on for 5 months. So you can't say that they haven't respected it.
5 months.
But the government can't let the farmer test the birds and then come back and say, well, we tested these birds and they're well, because then every farmer would be it would set a legal precedent where anytime there's an outbreak, every farmer would then be saying, no, we don't need you. We're going to go test on our own. And that won't really work because farmers, everybody would have their own agenda. There's a huge incentive for the farm owner to just say, no, my birds are fine, or we don't need you. Get the heck out of here. We're just going to let the disease run its course. CFIA, you don't have any authority here. And if that's allowed to happen here, then that will be allowed to happen everywhere. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying, but if I'm going to pay my own veterinarian to test my livestock, I don't think the government should be able to step in and say, oh no, you can't use your vet to test the animals. There's something stinks there.
Well, when you've got,
you know what it's going to create, Alicia? It's going to create a mask for everybody now because people are going to be scared to register animals.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know. I don't know if you guys know this. Okay, I'm a beef farmer. Okay, and in my cows, I have to put a Canadian identification number in their ear. And say my cow, I sell it. 10 years down the road, if that cow tested for BSE, they'll trace that cow back to my farm and kill every one of my cows, even though that cow's been gone for 10 years.
Would you be compensated for that, though? Would the government compensate you for your cattle?
Not for what they're worth.
So you'd lose.
Oh, definitely, because my cows are registered. So, and they only pay grade prices. Like they only pay whatever's going through the sale barn.
Well, back up a little bit, Alicia. So I don't know if what you're saying is actually accurate. You're saying that that they found that there was a mad cow disease case on a
on a cow that I sold 10 years ago, they can trace that animal back to my farm and test. And the only way they can test my animal to see if they've got it is they have to kill the animal because they have to test the brain. Yeah. That's what the identification tag is for. It's not for people's health. It's so that the government can trace the animal
it's
back
for
to
people's
where
health
it
because they
originated
need to
from.
be able to trace where all of these animals go. Because if you do have any kind of an outbreak or a disease or any health issue or anything like that, then you have to be able to trace where all these animals come from, where they've been. That's
but
why.
I shouldn't be responsible for an animal that I sell 10 years ago.
Well, I'm not sure that this is entire. I'll have to look into this. And I guess you say you're a farmer, but anyway, and in the case of these ostriches, I know that,
I know they're going to be killed. There's no question about that. They got to be done away with. I know that, but still, I don't think the government should say to them that they can't bring their own vet in just to test a few for their own peace of mind.
Yeah,
if I called my vet St. Lawrence College
but no,
and
you see, here's the other reason, Alicia, they can't do it, and nobody else is going to tell you this. I'll tell you here though. The other reason they don't want that to happen is because if you do have an outbreak within a flock, you have 400 ostriches in there, right? So you do not want humans coming into contact with these birds. You want to minimize exposure, right? Because they can be transmitted to humans, even through the feathers. So if you allow the farm owner to start testing all their birds, then you're allowing or even encouraging contact between the farm owner and the bird. Therefore, increasing the risk of exposure. They've already done the testing. They've already confirmed that the virus is present within the flock. They've got 69 of these birds that died over the course of a month. Reporting on this was delayed, and you can draw your own conclusions on that. I mean, it's pretty obvious to me what was going on because the report of this bird flu outbreak did not come from the farm. It came from someone anonymously, but it took time. And then even after, it took time for this thing to be even recognized by the CFIA. It took more time for the CFIA to then say, okay, well, when you have a couple more of these birds die, call us back. We'll come and test the carcasses. So they finally got to that point. And this thing dragged on and on and on. The 69 birds died over the space of a month, like 30 some days.
Okay.
All right. And so it was like a month of death at the farm, a month of suffering and death with the ostriches. They were getting sick. And then they said, well, these ones here recovered. These ones didn't display many symptoms. But you can be damn sure that if you've got a bird flu outbreak within a flock in an enclosed area where all the birds are in close proximity and they're all crapping all over the place and they're all running in each other's feces, that the virus has spread, if not through the entire flock, then through the vast majority of it. All right.
Oh, they'll never be able to have ostriches on their place again.
So they've confirmed
They'll never be able to have birds on their place.
And the birds are dying. They're having like about 2 or 3 of these birds die every day over the course of a month. And so don't tell me that you're not aware that you've got a problem. If you've got 2 birds died Tuesday, 2 more die Wednesday, 2 more die Thursday, 3 die Friday, none die Saturday, Sunday 4 die, I don't know, but we know that this is what's happened. So I'm sorry, but the virus is there.
That's what I'm saying. If this was going on and these birds were dying, why weren't those people calling their vet?
Why weren't they calling the CFIA? Because you have a duty to report. That's why they got a $10,000 fine.
Yeah.
That's the protocol.
The other thing I'm wondering about is why are they confiscating their paperwork on the testing and any eggs that are around? Are they going to test them or what?
CFIA has indicated that they are going to take their samples and a lot of their other material when the cull is complete. They've told Karen Esperson told me that in the interview that I do with her. So the CFIA wants all that material as well.
And I'm wondering why.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious. I just don't want to say anything that's, you know, going to be a legal issue here.
Oh, okay.
That's why even now, with all that I've exposed through the work that I've been doing on this, and I didn't even want to touch this stupid story, but if you give me a story, I'll dig into it. I gave you the information. It's inconvenient for some people now. They've got damage control going on. I'm sorry. You know, I didn't want to touch the story, but there it is. This is the reality. That's the truth. Now you've got your PR people, you know, in full swing over there. You're going to have to deal with it, but I just told people the truth. You don't like it? Well, what can I do about it, man? Those are the facts, and they're all out there for anybody to go find if you really want to look. And then there's a lot that I'm even not saying here, Alicia. There's more that I'm not saying because there's more that's going to come out of this over time. And I
have no problem with your reporting whatsoever. And I know that has to be done. It has to be done.
Yeah.
The thing is, how the chickens that died, they were like in an enclosed building.
Mm-hmm.
So once you get rid of those chickens in this enclosed building, you can fumigate and you can put lime down and clean the place up. These people with these ostriches, there's no way they can clean the place up because they're out in an open area.
I don't know if I would think they will be able to clean it up eventually and do different things. They'll be able to, you know, get it back to an operational state at some point. But
well, I would think that virus can live in the ground, in the ground for years and years.
No, not for years and years. There was information that I found. Actually, I wasn't even the one that sent it. I found it. It was somebody criticizing my work. And they were trying to attack me online, and they started posting all this information. And one of the things they posted was about exactly that. I might even still have it up here, but they were actually confirming everything I had already reported. This is the bizarre thing. It's like, look at this. This proves he was lying. No, actually, that's exactly what I said. It's the strangest thing. I might not have it up anymore, but no, it's like, in the ground, I think it can linger for about a month or 2 months after. I'd have to find it. I might not.
I might have somebody for you, Rick.
What's that, Blue?
I might have somebody for you for your show. His name's Greg Scott. Okay, he's in South Africa. I grew up with him. His family immigrated here, and I've known the family since I was maybe 12, 13 years old. And he's the only one that went back to South Africa, and he's there now. Right. And the thing with the farmers, the white farmers there, it's been going on for years. Okay. For years, right? Well, he was charged. Okay. He'll tell a story anyways. He was charged over there because it's so segregated there. One side of the street will be black, the other side will be white. Okay.
Yeah.
And carjackings are at an all-time high over there, and they're violent carjackings. Okay. Now everybody in South Africa have to go through military training, period. As soon as you hit 18 years old, you enlist, it's automatic, okay? And they're trained, right? So everybody's got weapons, okay? If you think America's weapon happy, look at South Africa. While Greg's driving around and he's got his AK-47 or whatever, right? And him and his buddy, okay, and they're on the wrong side of the street anyways, they get jacked for their vehicle. Well, he jumps out and he shoots 4 people, okay? And he was charged because when the police came, he was plugging one of the holes, okay, on one of the people, and he was charged criminally, right? But he ended up beating it in court, right? But he's there now. I'm going to give him your number, your contact, and try and get this guy on the phone, okay? He talks funny because that South African accent, right? But very interesting. If you want insight on what's going on in South Africa, he's one of the guys because he's there, right?
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, maybe we can get connected and get him on. Somebody else just called in too. Who's there?
Okay, I got to get back to work. I got to make my money.
Okay.
I just wanted to put my 2 cents in on that anyways. Yeah, condolences to the 2 that were murdered in Washington. But unfortunately, this is just the beginning of it, right? And it's going to happen all over the place, as we see, right? The tempers are high in North America right now.
Thanks for calling in tonight, Leo. Good call.
Okay, buddy. Bye.
Thank you. And who's on the line? Somebody just joined us?
Yeah, it's Isabel.
Isabel. How are you?
Somebody in the chat, DEC123, had a question.
Okay.
And I'm reading that, and I don't think we got an answer to that. I don't know if you have. Where and how were these 69 birds buried?
I don't have an answer. I don't know.
That is really curious. Did they dispose of them themselves? I mean, they keep saying.
Good question.
They keep saying so many birds died. Okay, but where did you put them?
Very good question. I do not know.
Actually, it's a very good question.
They may be completely burned.
It could be. Sorry, who's that?
Yeah, it's Lori. I've been sitting here for about 10 minutes now.
Sorry,
we get in on this, but no, that's okay, Rick. No, I just wanted to kind of point out, and I don't know if anybody else is seeing this, but there are so many parallels between this ostrich incident and the clown boy in Ottawa. Is that so many people showing up with different motives and different dialogues going all the way down the line, and different stories here. And I've just been kind of listening the last couple of nights, and I see these parallels all the way along.
Yes. Yeah, pretty clear.
Very, very clear, especially the wanting the donations and come on down.
Well, everybody seems to be showing up at these things with different motives, and what are you promoting? I mean, to get me on board with something like this, I'd like to know what the objective is here. And
I don't really think it's about the birds that much, to be quite honest.
No. When you see how much money they have raised, no. Very suspicious.
There's alter motives, like we say.
Yes.
Yeah. On the main website, they're up well over $100,000 over. Well, I checked yesterday, 103,000. I'll check again. They haven't actually been updating it every day, so I don't know if
there's so many other things that people could raise money for, because there's a lot of people out there who got no food, but you got people that are raising money for this.
Yeah, they have.
You are exactly spot on.
I mean, I'm a senior, so I work pennies to pennies, because God knows I'm not going to get a raise in my pay. But there's so many things that they could do with this, but no, what their ulterior motive is, it's not for the birds. It's definitely not for the birds. And if they think I'm going to go back to wearing a mask, you can suck that. I am not.
Yeah, that's the most hypocrisy thing that I've seen in this situation. I mean,
yes,
they will go protest for a farm that will give, any research possible on so-called masks that can provide you from getting sick. But at the end of the day, the convoy protest was against the masking, and also what else? So I mean, the masking part of the protest in Ottawa and what we have now is a complete contradiction of what they were doing 3 years ago.
Yeah,
no,
a complete turnaround.
I disagree. I disagree with you there, Dragon. I think that the protest, from what I understand, was the being able to cross the border without receiving the jab. And
it's
the
true.
U.S. government was turning down our people, as we were turning down people trying to cross from the other side, and specifically pertaining to transportation of goods.
But if you do remember,
that's where I understand that it started. I don't think it had anything. Like nobody told me during the whole thing, the whole thing that I had to wear a mask.
No,
in my
but the
own
thing
house.
is that
I didn't have to go to my own house. Maybe if I had to go and do the shopping down at the grocery store, sure, I had to do that. I'm sure you did that too, Rick. That you followed what we were supposed to do that. Now, if that's such a big thing, but I mean, what it all turned out into in Ottawa too was just a big party. And let's go up there and smoke a little dope and we'll drink a little wine. And a lot of curiosity went up there. A lot of people went up to see what was going on. Sure, I like to drink and dance and let's party around. But that's all I saw out of the whole thing there.
Well, if you look at it, it's kind of the same thing as we're seeing right now. They've got people, their brain. Well, no, but I'm not totally agreeing with you because, and I'll tell you why. You had people who were willing to follow for a cause that they felt in their heart was true. But these people
is that any different than the ostriches?
I'm talking about the freedom, first of all. These people were pushed up
I'm drawing a parallel here too.
Yes, but you're drawing a different parallel. These people that truly were grassroots people were brainwashed into thinking that that's what they were going there for, was to protest for their freedom. They didn't want the jabs. They didn't want the lockdowns. They didn't want the mask. But the people behind,
you said was brainwashed.
But the people behind the scenes, that wasn't what they were there for. They were pushing the people into this and saying, yeah, let's all go and do this. We're all going to go and do this. It's like conning a kid into, you go and steal it from the store and I'll be right here behind you. You turn around, the guy's gone. But you're the one that's getting caught. That's what happened in Ottawa. And that's what's happening.
You're just making my point
here.
For me. Isabel, you're just making my point.
And this is the same thing. This is it. Yes, exactly the same thing. They're pushing people up, pulling on their heartstrings, thinking these people are going there to save the ostriches and the farm, and they are not. Their ulterior motive is with the World Economic Forum. They want to push us back into wearing masks, and I'm not going for it.
Well, I don't know that that's really the ultimate goal, Isabel. I think that it's about anti-government. I think they want to be disruptive. They want to discredit the Canadian government, and a lot of this still ties back into what I was saying and laid out, very extensively with evidence that one of the main groups, if not the main group in Ottawa, their real motive was separatism. And I laid that whole argument out for you with the evidence. And I think that even this, in its own way, in BC at the ostrich farm, there's a strong element of that as well. It's about just disrupting the government and showing that the government is illegitimate, that they're authoritarian, and trying to get a clash with the government. And again, I think that they're trying to get there's some evidence here again that maybe what some people want is that photo op of the protesters being arrested and worse.
And we saw that with the people who were finding out the truth that were there, were being banished from being there.
Because it's the gift that keeps on giving after you get that that clash with the police, right? Then you get the video that they can cycle for the next year or two, showing the poor, innocent, peaceful protesters trying to defend the poor ostriches from ostrich genocide, right? You can run that on a loop on social media for the next 2 years. You've got all these people being arrested. You've got court cases. You have to have fundraisers for all of that. That keeps their lawyers active. And then you've got all these news stories that come out of that they cycle through social media for the next 2-3 years as it winds its way through the courts. So And every time you have an update on the court case, the whole thing with the birds comes back up, and the government, the overreach, and oh my God, the evil government. It's an anti-government protest. And if it comes to that kind of a clash, it just blows up over the next few years. And the fundraising that is going on right now is just the beginning. It's just another chapter in the saga, right?
Yeah, that's the anti-government rhetoric alive.
Yes.
The question I have for you, Isabel, is what leads you to believe that the World Economic Forum is going to ask you or force you to put a mask on next week or within the near future?
Oh, they're not going to force me because I didn't do it the first time around.
Well, no, but you just stated that you said that it's coming around again. What would make you think that?
Because the gentleman that this farm is in cahoots with, this is what he's making from the embryos of the eggs from the ostriches that she is selling.
Yeah, I don't know, Lori, if you saw my report, but there is a page promoting the work of this researcher in Japan that's working with the farm. And he's in Japan, and they're promoting it on the WEF website, that the work of Yahiro Sakamoto, this Japanese researcher, and he's been using ostrich antibodies for what he claims are masks that will stop COVID by impregnating the masks with ostrich antibodies. Although the research is, shall we say, inconclusive with regard to that.
Yes, I've seen. I followed. I followed what you were saying in that, but I certainly haven't heard anything like that out of our government.
No. And
or our health officials here.
Yeah. And I just think that the WEF thing does trigger people. And I said this on my program the other night when we had those 4 gentlemen on who, when I said that the World Economic Forum is just basically an economic think tank where it's a networking thing for government leaders and corporate leaders. That's what it is. They don't pass legislation there.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And just to get back, one more statement I got for you tonight on what we hear and what we don't hear is it's just like being in your car and driving down the road and listening to the radio. And if you don't like what you're hearing, you change the channel. Mm-hmm. And I think that has so much to do with what goes on these days, is that where people get their news, but they tune into something and they like what they're hearing. So I think I'll just tune into a little bit more of it.
Yeah.
And no, I won't bother to switch the channel. Whereas if I'm hearing something that I don't like, well, I think I'll change this right away and go over to this other station or whatever. So just my thoughts anyways.
It's very true. That's exactly right. And that's why we've got so much polarization. Media has changed, and you've hit the nail on the head. Yes. Yeah.
And unfortunately, you got a lot of people who are believing Trump right now.
Who doesn't know what the hell's going on because he can't tell the difference between a tattoo and a photoshopped piece of text over a finger. Like he
reminds me of, like I said in the chat, when kids would watch a show and they go, "Oh my God, they shot him." I said, "Yeah, next week he's on another show." That's a show. That's a script.
Well, maybe. It's so weird out there. I can't dispute it. I don't want to believe that that's the case, but I can't say it's not true because I don't know. For all I know, it's a movie.
But
I don't know.
Watching
Lori, help me out here.
Well, what I can help you out with, Rick, is that the performance that I saw yesterday in the Oval Office, I can't think of any other president that I've known in my lifetime that would have attacked a gentleman from a representative from another country in the same manner that he was attacked. I mean, that was all teed up and ready to go. It was like the Zelensky thing, only times 2 or 3. So
yeah, if I were a world leader, I would not go visit him in the Oval Office.
Nope.
Bad idea, because you see what they do.
Well,
and I agree with you that was a repeat of the Zelensky. That was a scheduled attack.
Mm-hmm. He had the videos.
And I'm just very pleased that didn't. I'm just very pleased that it didn't happen to Mark Carney when he was there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would
stay away from that. It could be the same attack. There's no doubt that whatever he's feeling that day or whatever he feels towards you, he's going to do exactly what he did yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And the cronies are all sitting there on the bench across from the president of South Africa, and they're all lined up there. I was kind of disappointed in the 2 professional golfers that showed up yesterday, and I weren't exactly sure Ernie Els and Mr. Goose up there. I didn't think that they were. I didn't think they were too supportive of the whole thing. I mean, sure, they have their problems in South Africa, but they're both white professional golfers. I don't think they saw too many black players on the golf courses in South Africa where they grew up. So,
yeah. Well, folks, any final thoughts there, Lori, as we wrap up tonight? We're going to go around the horn here and just get people.
Well, the only thing I got to complain about here now, I got it all off my chest, is that I wish the weather would smarten up a little bit here in Ontario. Anyways, I'd like to see my plants grow. So I'll sign off and just say good night to everybody.
All right. Thanks for calling in tonight.
Have a good night.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay. And Isabel, go ahead.
And I agree with him. I wish the weather would warm up. I don't see anything coming in the next week. It goes up and then it goes down. I'm like, oh my God. Winter is, we started having it, and I had 1 week where I could go out, or 1 day, I went out, cut my grass in a t-shirt. I thought, yeah, here it comes. And now look what we got.
Yeah, wet and cold. Yeah.
The 2-4 weekend is still continuing. It can stop anytime.
And Dragon, give us your best French Donald Trump and take us home.
Well, if I can tell you this, Rick is nothing but good truth. So believe me when I say that fake news has nothing to do with Rick, because Rick will tell you everything. And like a good fossil he is, I will tell you this. Well, I want him to keep the good truth and just keep going, because he's the only one who can keep you sane in all those shit going on in the mainstream media. So that's what it is.
All right. And folks, this one is for all you true patriots, true Canadian patriots out there. Just have faith that somehow it's going to work out, I hope. You just got to outlast all the zaniness and somehow just keep our country together. Stay sane, stay grounded, stay real. And we'll be back here tomorrow night. But until then, here's Trump Traders and Maverick and the News Brothers. See you tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern on the
flip side.
Didn't pick this fight, but here it came. Now I wanna play in a trader's game. They sell us out for a tax cut deal. Shake his hand while they rob and steal. They call and sold. Trade our land for American gold. Singing his tune, dancing his way, but they'll cry for Canada when it's too late. Yeah. Trump traitors selling us out, burning our home for a tax break now. They stand with the wolves, spit on the brave, but they'll beg for Canada when it's in its grave. They talk real tough, but they bow real low, licking his boots while they put on a show. They chant his name, raise their fists up high, while the real ones fight to keep us alive. They don't fight fair, they twist the truth, say they're the future, but they kill the roots. They laugh now, but watch them run when the north wind howls and justice comes. Traitors selling us out, burning our home for a tax break now. They stand with the wolves, spit on the brave, but they'll beg for Canada when it's in its grave. One day soon the tide will turn, and traitors pay when the fires burn. No statues raised, no banners flown, just names in dust where the traitors roam. Traitors selling us out, burning our home for a tax break now. They stand with the wolves, spit on the brave, but they'll beg for Canada when it's in its grave. Trump traitors! Trump traitors! Trump traitors! Trump traitors! Trump traitors! Shame.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.